这个多少钱
20啊，
？20块。
20
$5. North Korea. Ah, here we go. Ah, Kim Jong-un. So this is China right here. Right across the river is North Korea, and it is absolutely dark.
President Xi Jinping said China and the US share common interests in the denuclearization and maintaining peace on the Korean Peninsula.
I have great respect for the president of China. I told him, I said, you'll make a much better deal on trade. Get rid of this menace or do something about the menace of North Korea, because that's what it is. It's a menace right now.
The relationship between China and North Korea has always been complicated. China's Mao Zedong famously said that the two countries were as close as lips and teeth. A relationship forged in blood and steel during the Korean War against the United States. The leaders have famously kept up with that appearance since the times of Mao and North Korea's founder Kim Il-sung, and into the next generation with Kim Jong-il. But something's changed. Kim Jong-un. Since he came into power in 2012, this supposedly close relationship has chafed at the seams. As leader, Kim has never left the country, not even to visit Beijing like his father and his grandfather had. This is the last time Kim was seen with a high-level Chinese leader, and it's been downhill since. Despite North Korea's reliance on China, mistrust has been brewing on both sides. China and North Korea share an 880-mile border split by two rivers, the Yalu and the Tumen, both coming from the same source, a slumbering supervolcano straddling the border known to Chinese as Changbaishan, and to the Koreans, all Koreans, as Mount Pektu. Many believe this border is the lifeline of the North Korean regime. 90% of North Korea's trade is with China. I have been reporting from inside North Korea for many years. Our reporting will be closely watched, but we expect to show you a country that the world knows very little about. But we have rarely been allowed to leave their showcase capital of Pyongyang to see the rest of the country. I'm curious to find out exactly what we could see from over here. Our plan, to travel the entire border, or as far as we can, from the Yellow Sea in the south to the regions rattled by Pyongyang's nuclear testing in the north. Our starting point, Dandong. It's a bustling, unmistakably Chinese city of commerce and condos, connecting to the North Korean city of Sinuiju by a single bridge, the Sino-Korean Friendship Bridge. 70% of China-North Korea trade passes across this bridge. Despite UN sanctions, there's a steady stream of trucks and tourists going back and forth. I would love to know what's inside these trucks, what this trade is. So I want to see where those trucks go when they come off the bridge. I think they wind around and go into a transportation center. Maybe that's where they unload what they've got and load it up again in the morning. Yep, written in Korean licenses, so these are clearly North Korean. 你好，是中国人吗? Looks like the back is open. Let's see what they got in there. These things may have already been unloaded. So this was clearly something they loaded up, took it over to North Korea. earlier today, and then they just came back, so they're probably going to reload for tomorrow. So all of these trucks have North Korean license plates. This was loaded up. Now it's empty. Thousands of curious Chinese tourists descend on Dandong to gawk at their reclusive neighbors from across the Yalu. All along the river, there are many tourist spots set up like some human safari. What did you see? What do you think?
看见什么了？
人了吧？就看着几个人在打排球。
Yeah, have you been there before? 以前有去到那个朝鲜吗？以前没有啊。
没去过。
Never been there? 啊，你想去那儿吗？ You want to go there?
No.
No. Why?
觉得那边不像中国这边好。
What do you think about all this nuclear testing?
他们那边搞核试验什么的，你怎么看？
你说我怎么看呢？
啊，
他那边好像不如咱们这边。
I don't think they are as good as us.
You have better nuclear bombs in China than they do. This site is called One Leap Across. That's how close North Korea is. Okay, here's the border right across this field. This says no drones flying over the border. And look at this warning. Do not converse or exchange objects with people on the other side of the border. They told us to be careful. And warnings not to irritate the North Koreans, and don't even try crossing. Peering across, glimpses of what appears to be normal life. Mundane but hypnotic at the same time. There is a way to get even closer.
You're going to get on the boat and just go right next to the border. There's a lot of tourists.
This is a fast boat. So I guess we're going to go over the line into North Korea from here. Back and forth. He says it's an unclear line in the middle of the river. But this river is split. China on this side, North Korea on that side. We'll see if we run into any military. The captain tells us we've technically entered North Korean waters. So none of this, we can't shoot any of this? So this right here is where all the generals' houses are. So it's kind of a joke. They said if there's a conflict, some kind of war, that they can get a lot faster to China than the rest. All around us, another surprising sight.
No photos, huh?
North Korean boats filled with North Korean products. Ginseng, kimchi, alcohol, and cigarettes. A sort of floating duty-free store, cash only. The other tourists in our boat were ready to shop. You can see that she was selling things right off the beach of North Korea. You can buy your cigarettes a lot cheaper, but certainly not very safe. All of the money from this goes back to her, to the people on shore, back to the government officially. All right, so we're told this is a pretty fancy North Korean restaurant with North Korean waitresses. Very North Korean entertainment. An estimated 40,000 North Koreans work here in the Dandong area and send cash back directly to the North Korean government. Down over here? Okay. Thanks. One of the highest profile jobs, waitress and performers in North Korean restaurants. They kindly asked us not to videotape. The waitress told us they live and work in China without their families for 3 years, with the promise of getting better jobs in Pyongyang when they get back. But just outside of Dandong, the symbiotic relationship starts to show signs of fraying. So we're just heading south of Dandong, heading to what's called the new district. This is where a brand new bridge is being under construction for the last 7 years or so, but it's just almost stopped. It's slowed down, and it's probably because of Kim Jong-un when the new leader came to power. This was his father's project. And it's just, the buildings are not completely filled. The construction is not what they thought it was going to be. People are saying this is a catastrophe. We meet Xing Chujiang, a truck driver who used to trade with North Korean farmers and most recently helped in the construction of the new bridge. He moved his family to this new district, which was built for 400,000 new residents, but only a quarter of that has shown up. So he's going to take us now to his building where there were about 2,000 rooms that were supposed to be filled. So we'll see what his life is here in this new district. Ah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wind. That's North Korea over there. North Korea everywhere. So you're able to see normal North Korean people. We can never leave Pyongyang. Kim Jong-un is testing so many nuclear bombs and launching missiles. Is there much fear here?
那肯定要担心了。 对咱们的生命安全，对这个核辐射和污染，因为咱这一条江，他们一般净在延吉那边搞实验，那个脏水什么一旦下来，咱们饮用了，对身体都不好。咱不喜欢他那么做，真的。
So what do you think will happen in this new district if this relationship with China and North Korea comes back to normal?
中朝现在你说有问题吗？我觉得没有什么太大问题吧。
The bridge is not opened yet.
有一点问题，对。
So you look at this bridge, this is supposed to be the great dream. This is going to step up the relationship between these two countries, China and North Korea. But it's just not opening. This $350 million project built by the Chinese was expected to handle 50,000 people and 20,000 vehicles a day. It now sits as a bridge to nowhere, literally. Satellite pictures show that bridge abruptly ends on the North Korean side in a dirt field. Why is it taking so long to open this bridge?
这个桥说，我也是听说啊，听说那个朝鲜那个金正恩，他好像对，就是以前那个张胜哲好像是有一点问题。
Jang Song-taek was Kim Jong-un's uncle, the one he brutally executed in 2013 for treason. Jang championed closer economic integration with China and opening up North Korea's economy. This bridge was supposed to be the linchpin.
所以中国喜欢能和他能沟通上，能开，把那老江桥取缔了，这个减少那个交通压力，这边还能活跃一点，这个城市还能活跃一点。
See that watchtower? That's where the North Koreans are staring at the Chinese, and the Chinese have their video cameras on that tower right there to look at the North Koreans. As we drive north of Dandong, an unexpected scene. The Chinese military training on the river with bridging exercises, guards lining the road to keep people from stopping. A reminder that there are 150,000 Chinese troops stationed along this border with their supposed ally. China's biggest fear is that a regime collapse would bring refugees flooding over this border and US-backed South Korean troops right up to it. So there's a new Great Wall. It was existing back in the 15th century, but it went down. They built it in 1992 again as tourism. So they say it's about 160 yards up to the top of this mountain, and hopefully we'll be able to look out over the Yalu River, see into North Korea. 个是雅鲁，对呀，雅鲁，那个是朝鲜。
这都是朝鲜。
在那儿是啊，这个 so right here, this farm area right here is that is North Korea. So this is absolutely the best view we've seen so far. You can see there's the Yalu River. Right on that side are all the buildings, the successful economy of China. And then this is North Korea. It's nothing but land, agriculture, and buildings. So this is it. This is just gorgeous. Are you afraid of these nuclear bombs that Kim Jong-un is developing?
担心，确实担心。
Very dangerous. You're worried about it?
很危险。
Yeah, very dangerous.
很危险的。
So what do you think we can do about it? Can we stop him from doing this?
那和平解决呗。
Peaceful solution.
和平解决。
Peaceful solution.
我是人家老二嘛，
那是你的儿子。
我是他儿子。开玩笑，开玩笑。
What do you think about North Korea?
听说那边吃不饱饭，所以说总是有这个，我听说有偷渡的。
America, we think that Kim Jong-un is dangerous and he's very different. He's very strange.
这应该是美国人的印象，中国人应该不是这个印象。中国人给听着印象就是听着有点贪得无厌、不要脸。你中国给什么我要什么，完了没有的我还跟你要。这就是这不我们住在丹东边上，天天能看着进出口贸易啊，那东西一车一车往那么运。朝鲜人给中国人就是说，他因为对岸人什么哈，给什么都是我应该得的。1000年以前这个地方是朝鲜的，是叫咱们给抢过来的。所以说你现在给他什么，他都这是你应该给我的。
Do any of you in this area think there could be some kind of war?
完了，我们丹东老百姓的宗旨是都不希望打仗。
Good luck. Thank you.
好。
Our next stop is Jian, an ancient Korean capital now on the Chinese side of the border.
Yeah,
This is Jian.
对对对，这个酒店可能也不错的。
This place is bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Unlike Dandong, tourism appears to have come to a halt in this town. Okay, so this is Jian. I mean, if you just look across the river, you wonder why can't they just swim over? It's so close. There's no cops, there's no police. Why don't they just come over here and get on the dock and walk to freedom? There have been defectors here, but the border is tightening. China sends back any defectors they catch. There was a farmer right down here. I mean, you feel like you're back in the 1930s. And North Korea punishes the defector's entire family. I don't think you see those kind of plows much anymore. You never see any of those in the United States. This is another one to see the difference. So there's China on this side, and there's North Korea on the other. You know, you see the difference in wealth. As we peer across the Yalu, a man who claims to be an out-of-work tour guide approaches us with an offer. And so this guy told us that they just stopped the one-day tours for tourists to come and go over to North Korea for the last 45 days because of the tension. They're not allowing anybody to go over to North Korea. He says he can take us close to it, but we'll see. So we're gonna head about 12 kilometers down the street to the very edge of Jian, and that's where the bridge is that goes over to the other country. I have no idea who this guy is.
Okay, right, so we're going down underneath, huh? Is he opening the gate? So he's claiming that he's sneaking us in underneath the bridge. It's just a secret.
Maybe just here.
This is bizarre. This guy's kind of mysterious where he's taking us. What is this, like a secret place? Do you know any defectors that have ever come here?
20年以前跑了很多。你刚刚那是朝鲜国旗桥头的。
啊，yeah, yeah.
Do you ever get over there? You can go there though, right?
现在不办了，朝鲜局势紧张，你告诉他，现在1个月左右停办。
But what is the tension? Is this tension because of the nuclear tests?
紧张局势是什么？因为什么呢？就是因为
韩美军演。
So do you blame the Americans more than the North Koreans for stopping this tourism?
就是军演，韩美要打朝鲜，那么来哈。也，既然那时候搞2级战备，你告诉他。
I think he's getting nervous about being interviewed, isn't he?
Every year, the annual joint military exercises between the U.S. and South Korea sends North Korea into a defensive frenzy. Pyongyang, the drills just over their southern border, justifies their chase of missile and nukes at all costs. In turn, the Chinese fault the drills for setting off North Korea.
I would say this is 2 football fields away from North Korea. Love to know who's in that.
Nerves apparently calmed, the tour guide offers to take us further to the new bridge in town.
I know, it's interesting that even here in China, they're blaming the United States for this tension, almost as if it has nothing to do with North Korea. You know, we could see that down in Dandong where we just were. There was tourism going back and forth. There was a lot of trade. We saw the trucks, we saw the trains. This might be completely different this further north.
GM Port, People's Republic of China. The military area off limit.
But this is the bridge right here. Okay, we're gonna get out here for that much closer. So is he concerned about the police? 공안? 他们的公安？
部队，边防部朝鲜警卫队，那个矮墙是监狱，你知道吗？
That's a prison right there?
这个桥你要是真正上来福建的桥，朝鲜建的，中方投的钱。
Kim Jong-un built this bridge?
备战用的。
Why did Kim Jong-un want to build this bridge?
就是备战用的。
For war, get ready for the war.
Is that what Kim Jong-un said? Where do you hear that from?
He tells us his friends in the Chinese military told him about the bridge, which he says is just wide enough for 2 tanks to go across at the same time. It's meant for the North Korean generals to get over the border if the war breaks out. Once we get back in our vans, the tour guide speeds off.
So this is a military zone, so we should probably get out of here. So we just walk about 1,000 yards along this train rail, you'll end up in North Korea. Okay, we should go.
As we leave the train tracks, we get spotted by the Chinese army outpost in the distance.
So I guess it came true. The military came out and they stopped us and take us inside to their headquarters, and they told us that we're in the military area and so we shouldn't be there. But then they ultimately let us go. They didn't take any of our recordings. So I think we're good to go, but we're just going to head up to another town to stay tonight instead of staying in Jian. So we'll see what happens next.
Driving north, we reach the source of the Yalu River, Mount Pektu. So we're going to go to the top of the mountain now. This is perhaps the most sacred place for all Koreans. The border here is split by this immense volcano known as Changbaishan in Chinese and Pektusan in Korean. It is known as the spiritual home of the Korean people. Every day when North Korea State TV starts its programming, the national anthem plays against images of Mount Paektu and the sacred Lake Chan, which sits in its vast crater. The volcano looms ever present in the daily lives of North Koreans. So much so that after their successful ICBM launch in July, news of its success was announced against the backdrop of none other than Mount Paektu.
Test firing of intercontinental ballistic rocket Hwasong-14 successful.
In fact, the ruling Kim family derives their legitimacy from the mountain. Kim Jong-un's grandfather and father are often depicted standing on top of Mount Paektu. Their enduring myth says the sacred blood of Mount Paektu runs through the veins of the Kim family, and therefore they are the rightful chosen leaders of the Korean people. So we joined the busloads of tourists to hike to the top of the volcano. It is, according to mythology, this is where the first king of the Korean kingdom began. He was born here. Also, Kim Il-sung fought back the Japanese during World War II. His son, Kim Jong-il, they say was born here. Although it should be said that the real records say that he was probably born in the Soviet Union. But finally, there's a very popular folk song.
You're from South Korea?
South Korea.
South Korea. What do you think about this?
Oh yeah.
Many of the tourists here are from South Korea. They only have access to their sacred mountain here on the China side. Whether you're in the north or the south, this is the sacred place. China. North Korea. Does this mean we're in North Korea right now with the rest of the Chinese tourists? So there's this story in North Korea that when Kim Jong-il died, the ice in this lake cracked and it was so loud that it shook heaven and earth. So that's the line that goes between China and North Korea, right there.
China, the
only thing I see from North Korea over there is on that ridge down from the peak. A little building, fence. About 100 miles just over this ridge into North Korea, they say that that's where the location is for one of the nuclear test sites. They've actually felt that when these things have blown. What's it like to be here, right next to North Korea?
For the first time, I see the site.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Very exciting and wonderful. For one person in Korea, I'm sad, very sad.
Someday it will be one Korea again?
Yes, someday will be.
Let's go North Korea.
Leaving Mount Pektu, the border is now formed by the Tumen River.
So the signs all have both Chinese and Korean now.
We enter China's predominantly Korean region. Half of China's 2 million ethnic Koreans live in this region, and this is Yanji, their largest city. And much to China's chagrin, this region feels the direct impact from Pyongyang's nuclear testing.
Let's get right to that breaking news. Successful nuclear test by North Korea. They claimed it overnight. South Korea confirms. This is just the latest in a series of provocations from North Korea.
It certainly is, George. This overnight test is believed to be the biggest yet.
Last year, as it did this September, the ground shook here because of what happened just over the border. Students across Yanji were evacuated out into the open. At this high school, we met this security guard who felt the shaking
So it all
at the
happened
time.
right over here, huh? What it was you're dancing around like this, really? Really? People evacuate? You know this was the nuclear test. Do you think there's going to be another nuclear test on that site?
We turn and head towards the border, towards the town of Nanping, along the river. The Tumen River is shallower and calmer than the Yalu, making it more manageable for defectors. Since the mid-1990s, almost 30,000 North Koreans have fled to China. And in recent years, violence and crime have also crossed the border.
They say that the North Korean soldiers are underpaid and underfed, and so that's one reason why they've been coming over the river to rob the people here in China.
And in few cases in Nanping, murder. We run into a checkpoint.
相机什么的。
有啊，相机也不行。
对，拿去。
不让往前走，我们就回去。他跟他没关
So
系。
he's looking through all of our bags.
不是你现在不是回不回去？你等会儿吧。
Who are they asking for? They asking their boss?
No, the security, the national security. It's like the FBI. It's like the FBI.
The state security agent arrives.
This is about the border? They didn't say anything about the killings. This can't be the same, right? I mean, this must be different than it was months ago. They said no journalists at all.
Even local.
They keep us on the side of the road for over an hour. Although they check every vehicle that passes, our van was the only one they turn inside out. After taking pictures of our team and our passports, they let us go.
The ultimate decision was to turn us around, send us back to where we came from, and not allow us anywhere closer.
He said that we cannot go further because the border is not stable, but he can elaborate.
好的，正在搜索。那个后边警车跟着你，你跟他解释，你跟他说一说，别让他拍了。那个后边有那人在那跟着你。
Oh, the guy is following us.
Will they be following us from now on? Who knows? But we're going to maybe try a different route back to the border and see what's going on as we go further north. You know, clearly in the south it was pretty easy. We were not really stopped by any police or security. But now, the further we go north, and we get closer to the more pure Korean areas and towns, then clearly it's getting a little bit more difficult. They're more sensitive.
We later learned that just a month earlier, 7 defectors overpowered North Korean border guards and crossed into China near Nanping. We make one last attempt for the border and head towards the border town of Tumen, named after the river we have yet to see. We pass a sign saying just 8 minutes to North Korea. This is another region Kim Jong-un's uncle had hoped to develop with China before his execution. This is not far from the Russian border. This is wearable. Mountains of North Korea. City 4. Is it? 30-yard river to get across. There it is. Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. The posters are on top of that building. It's the first time we've seen that across the river. This is the furthest north we've gotten so far. It's probably the most narrow river and also most shallow. It's the easiest ones to defect. Got the Chinese flag and you got the North Korean flag side by side.
It's for Chinese tourists.
Is that why? So should take that part out? But once again, they stopped us from shooting. The security agent told us we had two choices, leave or sightsee with the rest of the tourists. No more reporting. So we sightsee. What we're really seeing is that the further we go north, the more strict they become here on the China side. And you know, the Chinese came up to us and said, we can't shoot anything across to the other side. If they do, the North Koreans do see someone doing this, they will complain to the authorities on this side, the China side. So it's obviously this guy's job to stop us from doing it. Now we saw people with their cell phones taking video across the river, but he said partly because I'm a foreigner that they're even more strict. All right, we're getting followed again, this time by this black car, I think probably until we get out of this town. So this has been quite a trip. I think we got to wrap it up and head home. All these towns are, I think they're gonna be watching, seeing if we're gonna come. Since our trip, Kim Jong-un conducted North Korea's 6th nuclear test in what appears to be open defiance of China. Beijing has committed to additional rounds of new UN sanctions, banning all imports of North Korean coal, seafood, textiles, and now capping Pyongyang's fuel imports. Until Beijing decides to really cut off the lifeline, the trucks will still crisscross the bridge in Dandong. North Korea will still find a way to send its workers, and the empty bridges spanning their border stand ready for whatever they were supposedly built for. Fears on the Chinese side of the border are not over imminent war, but the disruption of their livelihood. China's reluctant tolerance of Kim Jong-un and the inconvenient status quo has always been, and always will be, about stability within their own borders.